Welcome to Bridges. Today I'm your host, JG. Normally, Monica Schmelter's here. She's out today. But today on the program, we have a great man of God, a man of many talents. His name is Dusty Wells. He worked with Dottie Rambo for 19 years. And he's been with Word for a while as well. Dusty, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thank you. It's good to be here. It's really good. I've been looking forward to this. I love Bridges. I love Monica. But it's great to meet you, JG.
Thank you.
It's good to be here.
Thank you. And it's my first time to meet you, but it's a blessing as well.
Thank you.
Now, Dusty, you are a motivational speaker.
I am. I tell you, I love it that they call it motivational speaker, but I'm a person who I love to go out and I love to share my personal testimony of what God has done for me through Christian music, but also through His Word and applying His Word to my life. And I've been at Word 15 years. I have a great job, but I love getting out there and talking to people about what God can do when you really, really learn to make right choices. You become obedient. If you make those wrong choices, you pick yourself up, you dust yourself off, and you go on. So I love going out and speaking. I'm able to do that a lot with my job. I'm able to mentor a lot of new young artists, and I had the privilege and opportunity and great, wonderful, humbling honor of working with Rambos and the McGuires for almost 18 years.
Even in what you were just saying, but also in some of your materials and things that people read about you on how Christian music changed your life. So tell us a little bit about the roots.
I would love to. I wish I could take you back, JG, and let you know I was 14 years old. I was raised on the wrong side of tracks in a small farming community of Twin Falls, Idaho. I don't know if any of you people have ever heard of Twin Falls, Idaho. It's where Evel Knievel tried to jump the Snake River Canyon. So that was our claim to fame. Lived in a housing development for widows, divorcees, people on welfare. My mom had been married numerous times. Drugs, alcohol, sexual abuse, verbal abuse, mental abuse filled our home. I always like to say at this point that I have a wonderful mother, but she was a product of her own environment, of her past. So a lot of my things that I struggled with were just because of the way that she'd been raised. I was taken to a prostitute when I was 12 years old by a stepfather to introduce me to love, to make sure I was a real man. But at the age of 14, after all this abuse, a precious Pentecostal couple came to the wrong side of the tracks on a Saturday afternoon when everybody else was always so busy, and they came what we used to call door knocking. And I just happened to be home, and we lived in 17 Collingwood Circle, and it was not a glamorous home by any means. My mom kept it clean, but it was not glamorous. And this couple came to the house, and I can remember this. I remember I was making back then, this has been numerous years ago, I was making beads because we used to wear beads. It was a hippie era. And I was sitting at home and this couple came and they knocked on the door and they said, hey, we'd like to invite you to Sunday school on our big church bus.
Now they had Sunday school on the bus?
They had Sunday school on the bus. They would take you to Sunday school, but they had a church bus that would come out to all the different parts of Twin Falls and to the poorer parts and pick up little kids. And they were going out trying to make disciples of these little kids. And so I took an interest. You know, I don't ever remember a Bible being in our house. I remember pornography. I remember drugs. I don't ever remember a Bible. But this couple, they came and picked me up on Sunday morning in their church bus. And then what I love, they didn't just stop there coming on Sunday mornings. They said, we'd like for you to come to Sunday night service. We'll come get you in our automobile. We'll come get you for Wednesday night service. And they took such an interest in this 14-year-old, miserable, moody, depressed kid. And they didn't give up on me. I was horrible at that age. I mean, I'd tried to commit suicide at the age of 13. I was miserable. I hated people because of all the circumstances and the unforeseen junk and garbage and debris of my life. And then they started taking me to their home on Sunday afternoons. And we'd go to church, they'd take me to their home, and they didn't have a TV, but they had a stereo. And they would play Christian music. They'd nap, and I'd sit there on the couch, and I'd listen to these lyrics and this haunting melodies and this music began to infiltrate into my soul, and just, it began to touch a part of me that nothing else had ever touched. And I received the Lord. It was in 1972. In February, I asked Jesus into my heart, and these people just kept coming after me. They kept taking me to all kinds of church events, but they'd always take me to their house and play Christian music. And I saw at that point, there was 3 records that I really specifically remember them playing for me. One was called, and one of them just happened to be a group called the Rambos. And I was 14 years old. I mean, people were listening to back then, the Carpenters, the Bee Gees, and,
right.
you know, all these other great pop artists, but I loved the harmony and the lyrics and the songs of Dottie Rambo. And I would play those records over and over. I started collecting them. My mom, who was not a Christian, went to a Walmart store without me even asking her and brought me home some records. It just happened to be one of the Rambos.
Right.
So God had such a hand in this. And I knew from the time I was 15, 16, I knew I was going to work in the music industry. I knew I wanted to do Christian music. I didn't know how I was going to get out of Twin Falls, Idaho.
Right.
I knew I was going to work for the Rambos. I'd pretend like I was one of the members. I'd get in front of a mirror and with a hairbrush and sing. And I just knew they were going to call me and ask me to be a part of their lives.
That's amazing.
And when I was 23, I went to I started out working at a Christian bookstore, and in Portland, Oregon. I was married. Finally got to see the Rambos live for the first time. Never wrote them a fan letter. Never. All this time, those nine years, I hung on to that fact that I was going to be involved in Christian music. And when I was 23, I got to see the Rambos in Tualatin, Oregon. And it was a packed out house. It was a Rambo reunion. It was Buck, Reba, Donnie, and Dottie. And I was sitting on the front row and down to the stage left. And as I sat there and walked, I thought, I've got to talk to them. I've just got to talk to them. And this place was packed out. But after the concert, I happened to go up to the record table, and nobody was standing at the record table, which still to me it was like God must have just cleared it out. It was a God moment. Yeah. And there was Dottie and Reba. And I walked up to her with a holy boldness back then at 23, and I said, you know what, I love your music, and I'm going to work for you one of these days. And I promise you, she looked at me and she grabbed my hands, and Reba stepped over, and both of them said, we saw you from the audience. You are exactly right.
Wow.
God has ordained this. They gave me their home phone numbers that night. I was Dusty Wells from Twin Falls, Idaho.
Blown away.
I was. But as I left that hall, I thought, God, I knew that you've orchestrated from the time I was 14, growing up in an unsaved home, the power of those songs and what they imparted into my spirit. And then for me to just pursue and pursue and pursue and know and hold on to the truth that was part of my destiny.
Wow.
And we started talking, and I would go out on the road. I ended up going to work for a record company and worked there for a couple of years, and then came time to go to work for them full time and help start their publishing and their record company business. And I spent 18 incredible years there, walking around. And I just love what music can do for people's lives.
That's an amazing story, though.
I mean, and it's one of those God things. It's one of those God things. And I've seen moments, other moments like that. But that, to me, is how faithful our God is. To those, when you're really called and when you really, really know that you have a great destiny. And I did. I knew that from the time I was a kid. I knew I wanted to do Christian music. I wanted to help, because it helped me. I remember many a times of coming home after church on a Sunday night or a Sunday morning, and there would be drug parties, and there'd be just junk going on in our home. But I would run into my little refuge of a room, and I had an old turntable my grandmother gave me, and I'd play that Christian music, and it brought me such great comfort. And today, to this day, I still listen to album after album, CD after CD. I believe in Christian music, and I know what it did for me.